Hey everybody, I am Jarrett Ross, the GeneaVlogger, and
It's a quick genealogy tip.
on today's quick genealogy tip, I am going to be talking about how to find living relatives. Now, when I first started genealogy, one of my first goals was to find my living relatives, to find my cousins. In the first month of me doing serious genealogy research, I was able to find tons of cousins all over the world in the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom, Israel, the Netherlands, and even other places. And at this point, I've connected with thousands of relatives all over the world. Now, the first place to start with finding your living relatives is to actually have information about living relatives. Now, if you don't have any information on living relatives, there are a couple of ways you can go about finding information on living relatives. The first thing you need to do is locate a place on your family tree where you think there are descendants that you don't know about. So maybe your great grandparents had a sibling who got married and had children, but the information for you stops at the 1940 census. Well, your best friend in this case is going to be Google. Now, if you have relatives who are in the 1940 census, but you don't have any further information on their descendants, it's going to be hard to find that information by going through a genealogy search engine like Ancestry or Family Search. So the trick is to find the places where you can get the names and information on further descendants. Now, depending on their age, you may expect an obituary, and you may be able to find that obituary, especially if it's been a more recent death. You may also be able to go to Find a Grave and get information that way. You can also search through different newspaper websites such as newspapers.com or fultonhistory.com, and you can search for marriage announcements, birth announcements, other obituaries, or just news stories that may have happened to your relatives. Another place to look is the white pages. The white pages have a website which actually has information that dates back to different times. Earlier, I mentioned that Google is going to be your best friend in this. And one of the reasons I said that is because all of these sites and options that I've mentioned can all be accessed through Google. And on top of these websites, using Google to search for people allows you to locate websites that you may not know about. Maybe there's a relative of yours who was famous for something, they have a Wikipedia page about them. You may even find that they have their own web page that they built. The items you may be able to find just by searching someone's name on Google are boundless. All right, so now you have information on your living relatives. Now you want to actually go about finding them. Now, as I mentioned before, Google is going to be your best friend, so just doing a Google search may actually turn up their email, their phone number, may even bring up their Facebook, because Facebook has pretty good search engine optimization. But one of the best places to really look is social media. Facebook is the best when it comes to this, and I honestly think Facebook is the best way to contact the relatives as well. Facebook has become somewhat of a world directory, and the same thing with Twitter and Instagram. I'm connected with people on all of those websites that are from all around the world. Now, the best way to start when doing a search on Facebook to find your relatives is look for a cousin who has the most uncommon name. So if you have a family of Smiths that you're relatives of, maybe one of those cousins is Tristan Smith. Well, that's going to be more uncommon, and so it'll be easier to find. Facebook and other social media sites are especially useful if you have information on relatives who are part of the millennial generation, which is people born between 1982 and 2000, or anyone who's part of Generation Z, which is 2000 and later. In my own experience, I found that people of this generation are on a lot of social media sites and are usually the easiest to find and the easiest to correspond with because they understand the systems and they have an easier time of being able to verify that you are legitimate in what you're saying. Now, one of the things that I really like about Facebook is that when you do find someone who you think is a relative, there's a way to try and confirm it. Now, to do that, all you have to do is look at the friends of that person who you think is your relative. And you should find other family members who are their friends. So if you find someone who you think is a cousin, you can then go on their friends list and look for any other relatives from that same branch. Maybe that cousin has a couple of brothers, or you know of an aunt or uncle or their parents' names. Sometimes you may even be able to find the grandparents in there as well. This is also why it's useful to do some of the family trees of spouses of your relatives, because then that gives you more ability to confirm a match. Twitter and Instagram can be a little bit harder to find people on than Facebook, but they are useful to look at as well because there are a lot of people on those websites who don't want to use Facebook. Some people prefer different websites over others, so it's always just best to check all of them. Now, as I mentioned, Facebook is my favorite way of contacting relatives, and there are a couple of reasons for this. The first is that they can quickly verify that I am a real person. If I send somebody a message on Facebook, I have a good amount of information public so that they can go to my profile, see that my profile has been around and active for years, and they can also see other people responding to me. This is why it's such a good idea to find someone who's part of the millennial generation or Generation Z, is because they have an easier time of doing this. Another thing with Facebook is that when you contact them there, they have time to respond. It's the same thing with emails, but if you're going to do a phone call, which I know a lot of people feel like would be a better route, it's actually a bit more difficult because people don't really have time to digest the information, research it, look into it, and, actually be able to verify that you are who you are and the connection does seem legitimate. If you do a phone call, they're put on the spot. They may not know that much information. And with how much people worry about fraud and identity theft, you're going to get a lot of hesitation with phone calls. Thank you so much for checking out this quick genealogy tip. If you enjoyed, please be sure to give it the thumbs up. You can also click right about here if you'd like to subscribe. It's completely free to do so. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GeneaVlogger. I'm the GeneaVlogger. I'm out.